Welcome back. There are a lot of questions out there when it comes to the coronavirus, the vaccine, and the pandemic in general.
And that is why this morning we are going straight to the source here. Dr. Eric France, the Chief Medical Officer for the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, is joining us live this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. Dr. France, with the new variant and how contagious it has been, are you and your team looking into possible restrictions to stop the spread, even as many counties continue to roll back theirs, opening more things like eateries and gyms?
Well, the challenge of the spread stays the same with the variant or without. We need to follow the basic public health recommendations of keeping our distance, wearing our masks, staying within our households. The vaccine isn't really going to have a big impact on the spread for months to come. So if we really want to keep things under control, we got to do what we've been talking about for the last few months and make sure we're doing that. We are tracking across the state for any evidence of the variant. We think it's probably less than 1% of all cases right now. We've also been told, however, by the CDC that we might expect this to become the dominant strain over the coming months. And if that's the case, we'll see cases rise very quickly.
Dr. France, Pitkin County, we know, is now moving back to those level red restrictions. That means no indoor dining for restaurants there, which are doing everything they can to comply with the COVID regulations. The Aspen Times article mentions that private parties or gatherings, especially if they bring in DJs, caterers, and people from several households, might be an issue. Do you see that as a problem in helping drive down these numbers?
Well, we absolutely know that gathering indoors with potentially poor ventilation in large numbers without keeping distance and not wearing masks is a recipe for a terrible outbreak. And so if these kinds of events are happening anywhere in the state, they're going to lead to higher rates and closure of our local economies. And so really we all as citizens need to do our part to avoid these kinds of scenarios, if only to keep our restaurants as open as much as we possibly can and allow other events to happen. So I'm glad to hear that Pitkin will be rolling things back. It's absolutely the right thing to do when the numbers are high.
Yeah, everybody going stir crazy, but not the time to get together. We're hearing about other mutations being found here in the U.S. What are the chances of yet another type of COVID-19 popping up here in Colorado? And is there concern it's only a matter of time before the vaccine doesn't cover one of these variants?
We know that the natural history of viruses is that they have these mutations all the time. They're reproducing in many bodies over and over again, and small changes happen, and that leads to these variants. And so there's been thousands of mutations and variants since this has started. Not all of them are associated with increased transmissibility or increased disease. We'll be keeping our eyes out on that. We do think so far that the vaccines themselves will provide a broad coverage for the variants. Usually, if there is evolution away from coverage from a vaccine, it takes a couple of years, and we know well ahead of time that that's happening, and we can change the vaccine to meet the new variant accordingly.
We have to be patient, although it is very tough to be. Dr. Eric France, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.